Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me here again. And yeah, finally, Stormers' undefeated streak has been defeated. But there has been, I believe that there is a specific reason for that. Although it's only within the Investec Challenge Cup now that they've been defeated. They still remain undefeated within the URC Championship, still remaining right at the top of the log. Yeah, and then also again, I'd like to mention a bit about the scheduling here, because you can see it now, sort of in this as we go deeper within the different cups and tournaments that starting off this season. You can literally see the alterations that's happening here between the different teams going to play different, sort of breaking from one tournament going into another tournament and then playing in completely different tournaments in cup challenges this time around. Lions versus Lyon, basically the only team that had a victory this weekend. So it's not really been a good weekend for the South African teams. Bulls going against the Bristol Bears and not doing as badly as the Stormers did. Both Bristol Bears and the Harlequins basically scoring a massive victory over their respective opponents. But the Bulls really did hit back hard, and they came back quite well. Made a huge effort to try and claw back any kind of to minimize the deficit. Unfortunately, didn't quite get there, but made a huge effort nonetheless. Sharks versus the Shell Sharks. Probably not one of the best performances of the weekend. Again, definitely going to have to make some really good changes in the lineup. A lot of expected performances by Siamasuku that didn't quite pan out. Even Ethan Hooker didn't. I mean, some teams just really perform well at some points, and then sometimes they can come back in and not perform as well as they normally do. So you can always have that kind of a bit of an off weekend as it happened, unfortunately. So yeah, the attack and defense battles was quite brutal along this weekend, as some teams try to claw back, making some concerted effort to try and fight their way back into the game. We see some player rotations that really didn't quite help the team as a whole, but I believe is quite necessary themselves as well. And then obviously, the Championship Cup sort of intensifies the kind of versus the URC rhythm that we found now already. That is difficult, definitely kind of a point of comparison that I'd like to strike here as well. The physicality and discipline, key penalties that's been given away by different teams that could have improved, or could signal an area of improvement that we can look at. Villeroux, 2 weekends in a row for the same infraction. Doesn't quite bode well. But I believe that at this point, Ackerman has probably formulated some form of strategy for himself. Remember that he's only kind of coming into the coaching box recently for the Bulls, coming off of the head as a head coach for the under-20s Springbok team, and it's a whole different ball game. Okay, when you're playing at this level of professionality, there is definitely strategies change, tactics change, and it is a bit of a learning curve and an adapting curve for both the players and the coach, especially when you get into so close to a new season, or for a championship, where you suddenly change coaches. Obviously, I'm talking about Jake White bowing out sort of right at the beginning, just before the beginning of the new URC season, leaving Ackerman to come in into a whole new environment, and the way he has to adapt to that now. So yeah, definitely some major impacts that we've seen from different changes happening over this weekend, and we can basically just start analyzing it from there. So without any further ado, let's talk rugby. Okay, so coming into the Stormers versus Harlequin game, and this is the first kind of change that I want to talk about. But also, I would like to pause again, talking about the scheduling issue, like I spoke about last week in the last video. The confusion that comes in as we see now that we've started off the very first game of 2026 as the EuroC Championship. Then we take a break. We come back into the Investec Cup. But it's only 3 of our teams that basically playing in the Investec Cup, and then 2 going into the European or the EPCR Challenge Cup. With both the Stormers, the Bulls and the Sharks remaining with the Investec Cup, and then the Lions going over into the EPCR with the Cheetahs. And okay, I'm not going to cover the Cheetahs for this weekend. It's just simply because I'm covering 4 games already, so it's just to kind of save time. I'm not going to cover all the games for 2 different tournaments. I will cover the Lions for this time around, but I think I'm going to focus a bit more on the Investec Cup. Stay with us, the majority of the teams: the Stormers, the Bulls, and the Sharks. But coming into it now, we see the confusion here as splitting the Lions away from that kind of lineup of teams into a different tournament, whereas you have the Stormers, Lions, Bulls, and Sharks performing within the EuroC. Now suddenly the Lions basically gets taken out of the Investec Cup, being put in the EPCR. It does create confusion where a lot of fans would think, okay, we're going into the Investec Cup now. Oh, no, we're not. So it creates a bit of confusion there, and I wish these, they're probably not going to put much weight on my opinion, but I really think that if they could organize it in a kind of way where we could start a tournament, finish it, then go into the next one, I think that will be a lot more easier to follow for a lot of the fans, and for the players as well. I think Stormers versus Harlequins, disaster, absolute disaster. But I have to cut the Stormers some slack, because you can understand that some necessary player rotations has happened over the weekend. The more experienced players were given a bit of a break, as you also cannot just keep playing them every single weekend, every 365. You have them during the week on the practice field, about 2 to 3 times a week. Then you have you have a game this weekend, then they go straight back into practicing time again. These guys do need a bit of a break. They need some time off with family, with themselves, and it's from spending time time in the gym, on the practice field, and then going into professional game time. So plus a lot of the inexperienced players do need their fair share of experience as well. So you want to give them exposure to the kind of professional rugby environment against especially international club teams, to get a bit more of a variety than constantly just playing against your own teammates during practice sessions. So this weekend we have Zachary Porthen back from the Springboks, also fighting to try and find his grip within the Stormers now. Remember that I've already spoke about this in previous videos, that players, whenever they play for club rugby or national level, it's two different ball games, because each coach has their own tactics, their own way of doing things, their own formulas. So the players are expected to adapt and as quick as they can. Not always possible. Zachary Porthen, again, back with the Stormers, performing quite well this weekend. I believe he scored his own try as well. We had Ollie Kebbel coming in, seeming a bit green, around the gills, although he himself has performed in quite a few games in the past, but seriously still lacking that international game time. We see a lot of the youngster players coming in also as well. Dylan Mart. We had Imran Khan back in with the Stormers team again. So it's if I can just quickly call up the teams here again. We have Ollie Colonel Voguzela, who really hasn't been having that much game time of late within the URC. He has played, I think, 1 or 2 games within the URC and performed really well, but then he was taken out again in lieu of some other prop in lieu of Andre Geventer that would step in there, and which would be, I think it was probably John Dobson's preferred choice for the hooker position. Connor Evans coming in, green around the gills. I mean, this kid hasn't really had a lot of time, also fresh out of the under-20s Springbok team. Ruben van Heerden, like I said, we had quite a few players that does already have the kind of experience to try and take the inexperienced players forward. Among them were Ben Jason Dixon, Ruben van Heerden, Marcel Tennyson, Devil Divenage, Yuri Mattia, and Damien Willemse as well as Warwick Galant. But quite a few players that has been absent or conspicuous in their absence. Obviously, Kobus Reinach, Sasha Faimakomazulu, Ungaro in particular as well. Marcel Tennyson, Yuri Mattia, not really performing up to scratch this weekend. Only 2 tries scored in this time around, one by Dylan Mart and then obviously one by Imran Khan. Really performing well within, for players that hasn't been playing that much. Also Clinton Swat, Wandili Mhlamba, Alex Groves, Skaran Tubeni being a more experienced player, but then again, cannot be expected to perform miracles. Same with Ben Jason Dixon. These are very few players that has got the experience to take the team forward and mount some kind of a challenge to the Harlequins. But it's Vernon Matongo himself, a player that's not really performed a lot of times. Wandisile Simelane also been given a bit of a break this weekend. It's. I'm not going to come down hard on the Stormers for a bad performance this weekend, because it's mostly inexperienced players that was on the field trying their level best to mount some kind of a offense against a really well-oiled and experienced team in the Harlequins. Marcus Smith slotting every single goal kick. Yuri Mattia not performing well, like I said, missing both conversions by Dylan Mart and Imran Khan. Also missing key opportunities to make some penalty goals and get some points on the board, especially on the first half. 61-10 final score. 2 unconverted tries by the Stormers, and the rest was just all Harlequins. Marcus Smith, not one of my favorite players. I feel he's got a bit of an arrogance about him. Look, he is a good player. He's not as bad as Thompson, though. I mean, Thompson is really, the kind of rage baiter that you would expect. from such a young, somebody with young blood, and then some mixed in with some arrogance there. But take nothing away from Marcus Smith. He is a good player. And overall, the Harlequins have got some serious talents within their ranks. So it can be, I think this loss was probably expected by John Dobson, but it was a calculated risk to try and just get some player rotation going, get some more inexperienced players into the game at that level, and hopefully then to give some of our more experienced players a bit of a rest to come back into the URC and take it from there, so we can maintain the undefeated streak within the URC itself. Nick David and Alex Domrand, brilliant performance. Nick David scoring his hat-trick for the Harlequins this weekend. Wow. Actually, top class performance in key moments for these guys. Absolutely brilliant. Harlequins coming in, off the starting blocks, putting up points on the board quite early on, and then just keep the momentum going. They kept the Stormers on the back foot the whole time. Stormers made some really good attempts to try and wrestle momentum back from the Harlequins, but it just wasn't happening. They would launch a really good attack line, which would either end in a penalty or a scrum or whatever due to ball handling. Still the age-old trouble for a lot of South African players, I feel. Especially within the Sharks. If you judge them by this weekend's and last weekend's performance, they would launch some really strong attack movements, going into sort of a battering ram movement with the forwards, taking the ball into contact, and then try and taking it into the back line for some tactical attack movements. But then ball would be dropped, ball would be knocked forward in contact, and they would lose momentum completely. Really well done for the Stormers this weekend in fighting back with the a predominantly inexperienced team. But comparing to the performance within the URC, I don't really think it's fair to kind of compare those two, because, like I said again, the player rotation plays a big role, and it won't be comparing apples with apples here. So I'm just going to leave it at that, really. Anyway, coming now to the Lions versus Lyon in the EPCR challenge. Lions basically getting on board quite quickly. First European win for themselves in this start of the season, keeping their hopes alive of making the playoffs for the EPCR season this year. The try scoring battle was quite intense. The Lions basically striking a beautiful balance between front row attacks, badgering the defensive lines of Lyon before they would switch it up to a backline tactical attack. Then doing themselves very well in finding those gaps and the opening open gaps within the defense for the line breaks, and also with a really good tactical up and overs, finding those empty spaces behind the Lyon defensive lines, which was just absolutely brilliant play. So Franco Horn performing brilliantly well, as well as Kewan Horn. Angelo Davids, I think he scored his fantastic try himself, and then also Mone van der Berg. Some really, key moments for key players that really performed exceptionally well, especially within the set plays where the scrums was performing extremely well. And that's probably the only, comparing that to the Stormers game, that was probably the only piece of set plays where the Stormers actually performed. They did quite well within the lineouts, although I think they lost about 2 lineouts to the Harlequins. But their scrums was pretty much oiled, pretty much, well performed. I think every one of their scrums, only conceding 2 penalties of collapsing the scrum, unfortunately, but did pretty well, all things considered there. Coming back to the Lions game, it was just simply a try-scoring battle between these two. I mean, I think within the first half, Lyon focused more on attacks rather than defense, and that's what really kind of counted against them, as the Lions, brilliant management of their forward and backline attacks, finding those gaps, getting early advantage on the scoreboard, making it very difficult for Lyon to claw back the deficit, making an absolute brilliant attempt at a comeback within the second half, but unfortunately, with I think 3 tries, unfortunately wasn't quite enough, as I believe it was Brandon that made the final try, just kind of driving that final nail into the coffin of Lyon, scoring a 42-33 victory, and then robbing Lyon of their losing bonus point, unfortunately. So definitely a very good performance by the Lions, and which is basically making me worried a bit, especially if we are to face them within the playoffs, or the coming into the finals stretch for the URC. If the Stormers are going to face the Lions there, they might prove to be quite a challenge for us in this one. But definitely, momentum shift mid-match to Lyon, as they made for Lyon, as they made a very valiant effort to try and claw back and reduce the difference in scoreline, and then still, the Lions, in the very dynamic moments of the game, particularly successful in maintaining that defense and attack balance for themselves. Very quick at the breakdown as well, for Lyon, that really that's what turned the momentum around a bit, and it looked like Lyon was maybe keeping themselves constantly within the game and making a concerted effort to try and maybe hit that losing bonus point. But it was just that last Brandon try that kind of robbed them of all hopes of that one. Bulls versus the Bristol Bears. Total walkover. And there was key features in which the Bulls just totally flunked out across the board. Their set plays was fine. They could have been quicker at the breakdown. I think the Bristol Bears was really just dominating in that respect. Scrums wasn't too bad. Didn't concede too many penalties off the scrum. The lineouts was superb. Can't fault the Bulls on that, but their discipline. Villaleroux being sent off again this week with a yellow card for another cynical error. I think it was Kobus Wiese that was penalised in a crucial moment. They were on the try, sort of just 4 to 5 meters out from the Bristol Bears try line, trying to push real hard to get another try in there, and Kobus Wiese goes in, performs a croc roll in the breakdown, gets penalised, momentum lost. So it was almost like the Bulls was their own worst enemy in this one. Really some silly mistakes that put them on the back foot and lost them all kind of momentum and pressure, giving the Bristol Bears just another opportunity to come straight back at them. So something definitely that the Bulls can work on, but I feel Ackerman probably would have by now formulated himself a really good sort of standing tactic or template for tactics and strategy within the game, because the Bulls basically outperformed the Stormers this weekend. A final score of 49-61, where what was the Stormers score? 61-10. So they performed considerably better than the Stormers within, against their opponents. Not such a huge margin for their loss, but still a loss nonetheless. So there is markable improvements on the Bulls side, but I think they can work a bit harder and do a bit better over here. Although I do believe that Ackerman probably now has a more set framework that he can rely on and call on to try kind of Obviously, you will change some tactics here and there as the game demands it, but any good coach would do that. But it is, I think he's probably got a lot more of a set strategy and tactics that he can call on going forward from here. So, because, I mean, you can see the improvement happening there. Sale Sharks versus versus our own Sharks. Not such a bad loss. 26-10, but still, key performances wasn't what it should be. Key performances was not at all what it should be. Sale Sharks controlled the second half quite beautifully. They took control early on in the second half and just totally ran with it. Turned chances into opportunities, into points the whole time. The Sharks desperately tried to mount effective defense, but couldn't quite hold back the flood of Sale Sharks that basically sort of ran through them. We only basically we saw Marcy White and getting one try in the first half. Masuku with a penalty goal, opening the scoreboard for the Sharks in this game. And that was it. That was literally the first half. One try by the Sale Sharks, one conversion, and one penalty goal by Sia Masuku. Coming back into the second half, it was Rod. It was O'Flaherty. It was O'Flaherty again. With conversions by Ford the whole time. It was just boom, boom, boom. And they ran away from the Sharks, totally controlling the game from the beginning of the second half. And the Sharks just didn't have any answer for it. Emmanuel Tachuka once again managed to score a try for the Sharks, converted by Masuku. But that was it. That was literally all she wrote. One try, one penalty goal, one conversion by the Sharks against 4 tries by the Sale Sharks. So not the performance that we were hoping. I couldn't really see a remarkable improvement in the Sharks' performance from the previous week. Constantly still losing the ball in contact, making really silly and basic ball handling errors. They did have, as per normal, they had their set plays quite well oiled, nailed down. They did struggle in certain areas, especially in the breakdowns, compared to the Sale Sharks, but performed quite well within the lineouts. Not too bad within the scrums. Just key performance issues that needs to be looked at. Their discipline was fine. They did concede quite a few penalties, but so did the Sale Sharks. None of the two teams' performance was without mistakes. I just think that the Sale Sharks coach team talk that they had with the players in the second half. I think that there was a definite psychological shift that woke up some kind of a motivation within the Sale Sharks. They just started running with it. And then the Sharks just didn't have any kind of answers for that. And then it played out pretty well for them. Nothing could have really saved it, I think, from then on for the Sharks. It was just all she wrote. It just shows, again, what a positive mindset and high team morale can do for them. And I think, again, the Sharks going into this URC not performing very well. Their table standings is I think about 15th now, if I remember correctly. Or not 15th, but I think around about 12th or 13th, which really doesn't do well for the team's morale at all. And it shows. It literally shows going ahead. JP Peterson has already replaced Jordan Hendrickson with Sia Masuku, like I said would probably happen. And I just, now the performance probably marginally a bit better, but still, loss after loss after loss. It doesn't do well for a player or team's, morale at all. So comparing this, the Challenge Cups tournaments to the URC, I think the overall performance by South African teams within the URC is a lot better. Notwithstanding the fact of the player rotation within the Stormers. But it is, yeah, I think it is kind of useful to kind of work on key physicality and discipline areas for the South African teams. Quick at the breakdown. Their set plays, not really that much of an issue there, but they could work more on, like the Lions did, they could work more on attack versus front row and backline attacks, balancing out that a bit better, and then of course attack versus defense balancing there could use some work on, especially with the Sharks, the Bulls. I'm not even going to count the Stormers. Like I said, very rookie team that they fielded this weekend overall. So yeah, that's it from me, guys. Please let me know in the comments field below what your opinion was on the games this weekend. Again, let me know what is your thoughts on the kind of jumbling of the tournament schedules. How do you think can the organizers improve it? Where do you think can the Bulls and the Sharks improve themselves to turn losses into victory going forward from here? Remember that the EuroC playoffs is going to start soon, and then you're going into the finals there for the Investec Cup, and then eventually the EuroC as well. So there's a lot of improvement that I think the Bulls can make, that the Sharks can make. They just need to focus. They need to, JB Peterson and Ackerman needs to identify these problem areas and work on those. They just need to focus on those. I mean, the set plays are pretty much down. I don't think that needs a lot of focus. But, you know, so he can shift a little bit more focus to the areas where it's just still sorely lacking. Overall performance by the European teams this weekend, I can't fault them. There's some minor discipline issues here and there. Really performing well within the breakdowns and their set plays. And their discipline was pretty well performance all round by these guys. So yeah, please guys, let me know in the comments here below. Hit the like and subscribe button as if you haven't done so before, because it really helps out the channel. And yeah, I'll be looking forward to see you guys in the next team. We are the Stormers especially is facing the Leicester Tigers, I think, this weekend. So that's going to be a tough team for them, especially if John Dobson is going to still stick with the play rotation this time around, still giving the new teams pretty much a sort of go at the international games. But coming into the Challenge Cup now again this weekend, we have Stormers, like I said, against Leicester Tigers. We've got the Sharks going up against Clermont. We have the Cheetahs facing off against Racing 92. We've got the Lions going up against Perdignan. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Yeah, I think they're an Italian team. I'm not sure. Italian club. I'm not sure. But yeah, I think the Bulls has probably been knocked out of the Investec Cup at this point in time. But no, actually not. They are going up against PAU in the Investec Cup Challenge this weekend. So yeah, that's going to be all-round tough challenge for these guys from South Africa, and I really hope they start focusing more on the shortcomings to hopefully improve their performances this time around. But thank you very much for watching, guys. Please, as per usual, take care of yourself and your loved ones, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Peace out.